Hello my friends and welcome back. Thank you for being with me again today. This video is going to be different than the ones I usually make, and that is, this is going to have to do with something personal. Not only personal, but I owe this to my colleagues from Child Protective Services. I wanted to make this video for some time, but I was waiting for the right mood. I think today it is the right mood to talk about Child Protective Services, the investigation department. Location: I'm on Washington Avenue, going north in Lansing, Michigan, crossing the 496 freeway. This is the freeway that cuts Lansing from east to west or west to east, and I'm going towards the downtown right there. So while I'm going to talk about Child Protective Services, I will show you the surrounding areas here in downtown Lansing. Not a beautiful downtown whatsoever, not a beautiful town whatsoever, but this is the capital of the state of Michigan. All right, so let's start. Obviously, by the name, Child Protective Services is a state department in the DHHS, Michigan Department of Health and Human Services now. Meant to, we're just gonna cross on red, meant to protect children, obviously. The problem is, this job is fantastic, but the problem is, the program is idiotic. That's why I'm making this video. Not only is idiotic, I think that the program lacks so many common sense policies, which, when I was working in the department, I raised time after time with people above me. They could not change anything, and they didn't have the guts or the balls to do so. All right, so let's start about CPS. So you are an investigator, and when you show up in the morning at work, on your desk or on your chair in your cubicle or office, depending on the circumstance, you receive a case. The case has some allegations, some alleged perpetrators and alleged victims and others. How do you get this case on your desk? Well, there is a centralized intake department which takes the complaints, the reports. How do you make a report? Anyone can make a report. Anyone can call that 1-800 number, Child Protective Services, centralized intake, and you will speak with a human being, which will take your information if you want to give them the information. That is, you can call anonymously. That is, if you have a problem with someone, your neighbor, you have a problem with your ex or with the current, you call CPS and you say, I want to be anonymous. And you will be anonymous. The problem is the alleged perpetrators that you call on, that you report on, could not find out who made the report, who was the reporting source. Because as a CPS investigator, when you're going to go and discuss the case and allegations with the alleged perpetrators, it's illegal for you to disclose, for confidentiality reasons, the names, obviously. You can't confirm or deny. These are the terms. So, after a little bit, you as an investigator, if you have some experience, and I had some experience, you know from just a few moves that this is a retaliatory move coming from the reporting source. You can't do anything about it. You have to conduct the investigation and follow the policy. Remember, the alleged perpetrator could be, I don't know, your ex, whomever, and the reporting source could be anyone, regardless of the criminal history, anything. we have some mandated reporters, like for instance, school teachers, school counselors, medics, medical personnel, police officers. They are mandated to make a report, call CPS, if they suspect abuse and neglect. Therefore, when you go to the doctor, they will ask you some sneaky questions. For instance, does your father own guns? And the child will say, yeah, owns guns. And you say, okay, are they safe? Where are they located? And you're gonna tell the doctor who has to ask you this question. And then after that, if they're unsecuredly stored, she or he will make a complaint, will file a complaint with CPS. And the CPS will knock at your door for safety reasons, for neglect or improper supervision or whatever they can claim on you, whatever the keywords will be on the centralized intake. Now the centralized intake will deny certain cases, certain reports, certain complaints. When, for instance, they find out the same number called over and over again, and they figure out that this is just a retaliatory, call. But they will be very skeptical in doing so, because if something happens, really happens, then they will get in trouble. So then they will send you, they will assign to the department, depending on the county, the case. The case will be assigned, and you have to go and investigate on the taxpayers' money. And regardless if it's a BS allegation, that you know it's a BS, and you're going to find out it's a BS, you did that. So the centralized intake has a lot of leverage in assigning cases. Therefore, there can be some cases that you never know. Could be from nothing, could be something big, could be from something that appears to be big as allegations turn into nothing. Now, how do you get employed for child protective services? Well, you don't have to have, you must have to be, you have to be clean in a way of criminal history, child protective services, and you have to have CPS history, and you have to have a degree, a bachelor's degree. And that's it. You go and apply. Well, preferably, you can have some experience working in prisons, juvenile homes, even police officers, ex-police officers work in the CPS, and many others. You can work with people who just graduated college, which you understand how much they know about life, but they are investigators. Or you can work with seasoned people who know something about the world, and they're a little bit older, if you're lucky. But the problem is, if they're older, they already have a worldview, which sometimes is bad. So let's say you get selected in CPS. Then you are going to go through if I remember correctly, 6 weeks of training paid by the taxpayers, in which you go to some training and listen to some baboons that will try to give you the program, make you work in whatever program they work nowadays. It used to be Swiss, it used to be MySaquis, depending on how far back you worked. Then they obviously going to have some tests. You're going to pass, obviously. It's not going to be anything like you're not going to pass. And 6 weeks, you just learn. From my information, this training costs about, or at least let's say cost in the past, let's say in 2020, cost about $30,000 for each CPS investigator. So each person who became an investigator after the 6 weeks used $30,000 from the taxpayers' money. Now, if that person decides to quit after 6 weeks and a day, the state lost $30,000. A good deal, you think? It's a fact. Now, the turnout rate, that is people who get hired, they leave, they quit. This is the biggest building in Lansing, Michigan. This is the nighttime street where there are bars left and right, restaurants, because there are a lot of people wanting to party. And there's the governmental buildings here, institutions, departments on the west side of the capital, which they come here on break and they consume whatever they consume. So remember, $30,000 that the state will never get back. Now, the turnaround, I think it's called, ratio, or time, that is, I get hired and then I quit, it used to be 1 year and 4 months. So the average CPS investigator would stay on the job 1 year and 4 months. That is very bad. When you speak with the guys in charge of you, they say, well, that is because the job is so demanding. No, it's not. And they claim that emotionally you're so stressed. I wasn't stressed emotionally, I gotta tell you that. Why? You've been around the block a few times. You've seen worse, maybe. Sometimes you feel like when you see a perpetrator, a criminal, a person who really deserves a lot of love, if you know what I mean, then you feel like doing certain things. But nevertheless, I've seen a lot. I didn't like what I saw, but it was not the main stressor. The main stressor was too much work, little time. That is, I always liked Child Protective Services job. Fantastic. Noble cause, and I liked it. The problem is, it's like an ice cream. I like ice cream very much, but if you give me too much ice cream, I will throw up. The same with CPS. There were too many cases, not enough investigators. That is, they will distribute the cases to the amount of investigators they had. The guys from the centralized intake, they were assigning cases to the counties however they came. It didn't really matter. But the number of the investigators would not increase. Maybe in 10 years we'll add 2 or 3, regardless of the population of the town now, and regardless of the number of abuses, or at least the reports. It was a very hard process to do so. So that was a stressor. How do they put together this stress? With deadlines. You had the deadlines at each and every step that you had to accomplish in the system, in the program. And these deadlines overlapped so much that the number of the cases and your time, you were not able to figure things out. It was never, at least for me, about emotional stress. Nope. And besides, you have to deal with some bosses, managers or program managers or directors who you realize very soon they're baboons. And you wonder, what was the process by which these guys got those jobs? Now, if I remember correctly, a few years ago, the program director for this county here made about what, $80-some thousand or something like this? So it's not enough. I mean, it's not little money. Here, this is a famous, I think in the area, peanut shop. Very good and how do you call that? Fresh nuts. Not those kind of nuts, but nuts. Very nice shop. But expensive, very expensive, I would say. You can't afford coming here and eating every day, but very good. Restaurants, bars around, and we're going to meet Michigan Avenue. Michigan Avenue goes from left to right, obviously, in my case, from east to west or west to east, however you want to look at it. And on the left, we're gonna have the Capitol, the place where our elected officials are keeping us safe and making laws for us. And then we have the police department, Lansing Police Department. Then we have the, how do you call it, where the mayor is, the city hall. Why? I've been here many times, obviously. And they have the courthouse back there. I'm not gonna go to that one again, many times over there. In cases when you conduct a removal operation of a child because of a preponderance of evidence that a child was abused. I want to talk about the ratio of, or the myth that the CPS just snatches children and the CPS is just imbecilic and so on. No, it's not the case. Sometimes our I think, too sensitive about CPS, the program, and the requirements are sometimes based on and this is Michigan Avenue going that way, Michigan Avenue going that way. We're gonna go this way by the police department. This is Comerica Bank, obviously, and over here is PNC Bank. So you know who has the power in your society. Good job. Beautiful buildings. The oldest bank in the city of Lansing. It's on that little, above that. If you go a little bit more on Washington Avenue, you're going to get to Lansing Community College. Beautiful college, very much expanded in the past, I don't know, 20 years since I've been around these people. All right, so where were we? Removal. How do you remove a child? You remove a child after the investigation. So you as an investigator go and speak with whomever needed. You conduct criminal history searches, CPS history searches, and everything that you need to do. You even go and you do medical records if you get a signature. And for the children, you don't need approval from the parents to go to a doctor and say, I want to talk to you about this client or the child. But for an adult, you need to get the signature of an adult consent. I think it was form 1555. All right, where you need to go and get the signature. Remember, you do not have to cooperate with the investigation. If a CPS investigator shows up at your house and says, hello, my name is what? My name is what? You show the badge, you introduce yourself and so on. This is Lansing Police Department. If you go up there, you go up some search, then you go on an escalator, you go to the jail. This is the first jail, and then you go and transfer to somewhere else. This is the, how do you call it? I always have a problem with City Hall. Yeah, that's the great City Hall of the city of Lansing. I think that was built in 1600s or something. Looks very old, very dirty. And anyway, maybe here again, this is attorney buildings, offices, and here is the Capitol. Been in the Capitol, beautiful building outside and inside, beautiful, 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 especially inside. But I have nothing to say bad about the Capitol. It looks very good. Now we meet the Capitol Avenue, which again is north-south. This is south, this is north, and this is the center of Lansing, Michigan. So when you hear that Granholm and others and blah blah blah, they come here and protest, that's where they come and protest, over here on this lawn, on this Michigan Avenue with the Capitol. Let me show you here behind me. Don't get too dizzy, right there. Okay, let's move on with CPS. So you conduct the investigation, you speak with whomever, and you document everything. That is date, time, who you spoke with, ID people. But remember, if a CPS investigator shows up at your house, you do not have to cooperate with the investigator unless the investigator goes to a judge and asks for a warrant. If he's got a warrant, then you have to talk to that guy, otherwise you get arrested. So that's something that we as investigators were told, that you don't just say it like that. They don't have to know. You don't have to know. You just do it. Now, remember, now it's 2024. I don't know how things change or not. Here is a monument for World War I, World War II, Korea, Vietnam, and pretty sure it's going to be, how do you call that? Ukraine. New building. All right, so let's move on. So then, remember that one. But they could come with a warrant if the allegations and if the investigator and his supervisor and the program director decide that the allegations are this serious, that they need a warrant. Now, a CPS worker can go, I'm gonna go there, which is gonna be straight there. A CPS worker, investigator, can go to school and speak with your children, at least that's the way it was before, without asking your permission. I think they changed that, and they said that you can call and ask for permission, but when I worked, you didn't have to ask for squat. You have to let the parent know that you spoke with the child. That is, CPS works at school, shows the badge, and goes in, and the child is pulled out of the classroom in a special room. The child does not have to speak with CPS. Again, if the child is instructed by the parents, do not speak, he can go outside of the room, like it happened to me many times, and say, are you from CPS? Because you have to say it. But before we got in the room, I'm from CPS. Yes, I am. You can't lie. You can't lie. You're not the police. The police can lie. CPS investigators cannot lie. Now, why do the police officers can lie? So they can find the truth, so they can trip you. CPS cannot. So you've been asked, are you CPS worker? Yes, thank you very much. And they left the room or wherever we were in the hallway. And that was the instructor for instructions from parents and experience. Some of these children have been investigators dozens of times. Now, where were we? You can't be, I don't know exactly how it's right now, but I said before, a few years back, you could just go and you talk to anybody's child. But you can't force the child to talk to you. Great, huh? Think like this. When you are a CPS worker, investigator, you are not God. You're just trying to find out what happened. And you respect everybody else's rights. Okay? You don't have authority. Unless the authority comes only from one source, and that is judge. If the judge signed a warrant, you can have authority based on the warrant issued by the judge. The police officers, you can call with them, but again, the police officers, you can call them to protect you, because as a CPS worker, imbecilic as it is, you are not allowed to carry guns. You are not allowed to carry even sprays for self-defense. I didn't need it, but I was in some circumstances where you know, just talking smart did not do the charm or the job. I never got in any direct escalatory thing. I was threatened, of course, with life threats and all that you live through that. Are you afraid? What can you do? If someone shows up right now, pulls out down there and say, hey, I know you're a CPS, gets the pistol, what am I gonna do? Run? Maybe. In zigzag, maybe. So again, yes, and then every time you get threats, you have to report it to the police. And the police will investigate and arrest the guy and go to the process and so on. All right, so after the investigation, yeah, I got to face many encounters, but not playing tough, but I have a black belt in Kyokushin, 3rd degree black belt. I've been in fights many times in my life, in and out, so I don't have a problem with that, but I know that I can dominate mentally most people, because people act like, we all act like animals, and animals, you know, it's easy to come over here, go over there, give you this, take you that, and so on. Nevertheless, there were some incidents, didn't have to involve police, I had to report the police threats, the death threats, obviously, and so on. So let's go to the investigation. So after the investigation, you conduct the investigation, you find a preponderance of evidence that the allegations are true, that abuse and neglect occurred. A preponderance of evidence means 51%. It don't mean beyond any reasonable doubt, which is what 99% as a court of law has to establish. Here you just establish, oh, there's some beautiful, there's the governmental buildings over there as well, offices with apartments, and there's a beautiful, how do you call that, museum over there. Been to that many times. Again, buildings here, and On this side, very bad neighborhood. On this side, governmental buildings and courthouses, and then the freeway, and then very bad neighborhood. This is surrounded by very bad neighborhoods. Hey, like Washington DC. I wonder why. Gentrification? What is that? All right. Oh, look at this, buddy. What's up, buddy? Where are you going? I see you. I see your tail. So let's sit here for a little bit. Remember, you find a preponderance, 51%. You discuss it with you conduct an investigation, you send it to your supervisor. After you send it to supervisor, supervisor reads your investigation and brings it back, your report, and says, yes, gives you for corrections, or maybe you need to do this, maybe you need some extra this or extra that. And then if you said, yeah, this is a preponderance, and it's a removal. Now there's 5 categories in CPS, right? The category 5, there is a no evidence. That means that's it, you just toss it. But that's a catch. Each and every investigation conducted on you remains on your CPS history. So if you want to go and get employed for, let's say, you've been investigated by CPS by someone who called on you because, I don't know, you just her and then you left her and then she calls on you and you want to be a teacher, and they will ask you, and I think it's on the application, have you been investigated by CPS? You have to say yes, but it was false accusations or allegations. Therefore, your CPS history will remain over there for CPS to dig into it. So if they call from the school and they send a request to find out your CPS history, they will find it. They will find it, and they will find category 5, category 4, which are no preponderance. That is category 5, no evidence. Category 4, insufficient evidence to support the allegations. Now we get into category 3, 2, and 1. 3 are the ones where a preponderance of evidence was found to support the allegations. That is, they're going to open a case or open close, but that means you are guilty of something, 51%. If you want to get a job as a teacher or maybe as a medical personnel or nurse, bye-bye. I'm supposing, but I think that's clearly the case. Now, if the preponderance goes to category 2, who picks these things? It depends what the investigator puts in the system. In MySAQUIS or Swiss, as it was before, I don't know if they work in the same system now. So if you put a certain things, you have to go to safety and risk assessment and all that. They will show you, they ask you some questions, idiotic questions sometimes, that is agreed with some, are very vague. Very vague. It's like they're looking to find a preponderance. Why? Some people need some jobs. I will tell you 2 stories. One, my supervisor told me one time when I was talking about the rights of the alleged perpetrator. Alleged, that means he was not found at that time. He said, Emil, you work for Child Protective Services. I said, yeah, I know, but these guys have rights too. He's a parent, I'm a parent, so it didn't matter. So that means I have to trample on some people's rights because what? So they look at it that way. Another one was, I didn't want to a different supervisor. I didn't think the case could be elevated to a category 3 or 2, and this one was, I think, a 2, which have to provide services. That means there's no way around it. And category 1 is removal of the child from the care of the caretakers. So I spoke with this female supervisor, and she said that after the investigation, the case gets transferred to foster care. It's a different department that takes it after you found the investigation, the preponderance or no preponderance. If you found the preponderance, it goes to foster care. That's how it's called, department, or ongoing foster care if it's removal, ongoing to provide services for the alleged, now in that case, perpetrators. All right. So after that, she told me that the people in ongoing and the people in foster care did not have enough cases. So therefore, I should find somehow a preponderance of evidence that I didn't find personally through my investigation, just because another department that this would have been transferred in case a preponderance was found did not have enough jobs, so therefore they were jerking off in the office. Can you believe that? You better believe it. You know why? Because they're human beings as you and I. All right, now, how did they get that job? In this particular case, that particular woman, her husband was high up in the state of Michigan. I found a lot of, for instance, one of my program director, her husband was high up in Michigan Department of Human Health and Human Services. Therefore, she was the program director, I would say. But hey, maybe I'm wrong, but what a coincidence. Anyway, let's move on. So then you got category three, as I said, which is a preponderance. They will say, you know what? We found a preponderance, we offer you services. That is classes of domestic violence, or I don't know, psychological evaluations, or things like this. And you can say no, or you can say yes. And if you say no, and they say, well, you know what, it's the preponderance, we can escalate it to elevate it to a category 2, they would say, you know what, you have to. If you get escalated to category 2, elevated, then you have to take services. If you don't, I file a petition to the judge, and the judge will give me the authority through a little thing that you have to do it. All right? And then category 1, when it's a preponderance, child removal, you remove the child with the police. You go over there to the house and you snatch the child with the police. Remove the child from the care of the perpetrators that were found to be perpetrators based on your investigation. You get the child and then you put it in foster care temporary. The main goal is reunification. It's not you snatch the child, I get a bonus, as these baboons think. You don't just, snatch the child, you get a bonus for removing the child, and that's it, the child is gone. No, the goal of a CPS investigation, if a preponderance was found, is to reunify the family. You have to provide services to the family or the perpetrator that was found to be a perpetrator, unless that person goes to prison, therefore is going to get some services over there in a shower. And then after a while, if the alleged perpetrator, in this case perpetrators, can follow up with the services, they will have the child back in their care. That's the way. But in the meantime, they will be placed in other placement centers, foster care parents, and a lot of abuse occurs over there. I know that because I investigated that too. And you find out that you go from one garbage to a worse garbage, where you have not only the foster parents, but you have the other children that would abuse, prey on these children. A lot of cases like that. A lot of cases. So it's no fun whatsoever to get out of one place. Sometimes you get in an uglier place. Or maybe go to the juvenile home for a while. I've never seen this because I haven't been here for some time. Beautiful, isn't it? Beautiful. That's a governmental building over there behind. Right there. State Office Building, John A. Hanna. Hanna Building is also in Michigan State University. The, how's that called? Where you get your diploma, the administrative building, that's called Hanna Building. I'm assuming it's the same person, but it's beautiful than that one. So then you get, after you remove the child, the next day, you're gonna have a court hearing with the alleged perpetrators. They will have an attorney. You're gonna be over there in court supporting your investigation. There's gonna be a judge, preliminary trial, and then after that is decided if the child if enough preponderance to show that if the child returns into the care of the children, of the parents or whatever they might be, you're gonna be abused. So then you're gonna have court and court and court until it's gonna be, the final decision. Now, from what I know, when I read, this was one statistic a long time ago. From 100%, from let's say 100% or 100 cases, less than 1% were removals. And from that 1%, I think it was about 40%. So 0.4, 0.4% of a percent in the 100%, it was removal. So when these guys talk about, oh my God, snatching children, blah, blah, it's not a lot. Now, how many cases? You can receive, I don't know, 12 cases, you can receive 3 cases a day, you can receive 1 case a day. I'm not saying the 12 a day, but depends on how many are assigned to the county by the centralized intake and how many investigators are available. So it could be 3 cases a day, every day, but they made a law saying that you can't have more than 12 cases a month is garbage. Why? Because the deadlines will push you to have it, to have more. Nevertheless, they will do all kind of hanky-panky with that one. To conduct an investigation, it used to be no time limit. Like the police officers, like the detectives, they have 500 cases because they don't have a limit of the investigation. In CPS, they say, which is a lie, you got 30 days minimum, and then you can extend it. But the extensions are based on two idiotic reasons that usually you don't fall under that. You can say, well, I need more time. Nope. And if you do that, passes a deadline and it's gonna show us on overdue, and then you are getting in big trouble. So 30 days, but it's not 30 days because they take calendar 30 days, which you work 20, 21. Remember, 7 days and you got 5 days. So 5, no, 30 days. It's actually 20 some days. Now in those 20 days, you don't just conduct an investigation. You have trainings, you have garbage meetings with these baboons that instead of compressing everything in 40 minutes, they have like 5 hours, 3 hours. And you have to do a lot of training online and face-to-face. All that takes from your investigation. Remember, you have to drive places, you have to do places. So that will get about 1.2 days, business days for a case. That's nothing. You can't do that. Sometimes you have 7 children with 5 parents, 3 of them are in prison. Fuck that shit. But you can find them, and then you have to discuss, and you have to have meetings with the supervisor, then you have to with the program director, and they say, oh, you're slow. No, you're not slow. You gave me too much ice cream. Now, can you change that? No. Besides, you are not paid very well, and overtime was a no-no. All right. This is governmental building, state building. That is the Capitol over there, and here is a Vietnam War era timeline. I haven't been here. I don't know. I've been here, but not. This is something that I haven't seen. First time when I'm walking here. I mean, the courthouse when I used to go. It's on that side. We're gonna walk probably that way. So, my friends, that's the CPS in a nutshell. But I can tell you more because I have a lot of grievances. Why? Because we were worked like slaves. But you can say, well, nobody pushed you to do that. It's true. We were always in a hurry. And I got to tell you that I don't think I was ever, and I'm saying this in all the shame that I can give you. This is Hall of Justice. I think I was never satisfied of any investigation I conducted. Any. Maybe I won. Why? Because he didn't have time. And the question was this: Emil, did you follow the policy? And I say, yes, we're covered. That was the fucking shit. They cared about being covered. And even if I would say, well, I think I should investigate this more or something. No, did you follow it? No, we don't have time. Let's move on. Besides the fact that I will mention one investigation where I didn't find a preponderance, because after the investigation I said, well, I didn't find it. But then I had a conversation with my supervisor and the program director, and the program director spoke. It was on camp, how do you call that, virtual Teams. I think it was Teams meeting. And we had this conversation, and they didn't talk to me. They talked to one another. I was over there, even though I knew more than they knew about investigation. And the program director said, because there is that's what she called it, an environment of this kind of behavior in the county, we should open the case. But I said, yeah, but this is only one-time event. That most of the time, from one time, you don't see a pattern, you let it go. And it wasn't that bad. And they didn't ask me anything. They discussed over there, and then they decided. And then they said, well, then you have to sign the investigation at the end. You and your supervisor. That is, you are responsible. Makes me vomit. Made me vomit so many times. So many times when I think there were people who were... Anyway, freedom. Oh, thank you. I thought it was equity over there. I was about to throw up. Freedom, equality. Equality of what? Of outcome? No, but since being the Michigan Hall of Justice, I get the hint. So my friends, this is the CPS thing. I love the job, The problem is it was too much, not only for me, as I said, 1 year and 4 months. The turnaround, whatever you call it, turnover tells everything. And they argued, these baboons in charge of us, that is because it's a hard job and we couldn't make it. And I told them repeatedly what the problem is. In my exit interview, when I said, okay, bye-bye, fuck off, right? I got some other ventures in my life. When I had the exit interview with the director of the department, I explained to her everything, including the fact that I don't expect her to do anything about it because she's part of the problem as well. Because here is like such a slavish behavior between among supervisors. They want to cut each other's legs one to another, and they're like children. I don't fucking know what the selection process for the supervisor is. To be an idiot and an ass kisser? No idea. Why? I read their investigations. So each and every person who was a CPS supervisor used to be a CPS investigator. Therefore, when I have, let's say, a case was assigned to me, an investigation, I have to go through the history of that alleged perpetrator, that family. I have to read through the investigations conducted in the past. And some of those investigations were conducted by the baboons who now sit on high seats over there in the department. And I saw their level, and I saw their, how do you call it? Some of them were okay. I'm not going to say that. But most of them, if they would have to correct their own investigation without knowing it's their investigation, that would not pass. Including the fact that always there were policies dropped on us. Always. Nothing taken away. Always do something. This new policy. Why? Because the baboons in charge of us in the downtown, they were writing that to their beautiful resumes. Why? To succeed in life. Therefore, I did this policy with disregard to, like the pills, the medication. Oh, I'm going to take this for, I don't know, for the kidneys. You take that for the kidneys, and that medication that I take is going to have a side effect that's going to get my blood pressure up. Oh, okay, then you take another pill. That pill, how do you call that? You're going to get it prescribed by a medic. Yeah, he's going to give you for the blood pressure. You get the blood pressure, then you're going to have something with your heart. You get another prescription for your heart. You're going to get that from your heart, and then you're going to affect, I don't know, your cock, right? All right. All right. Maybe I'm accused of something else, but anyway. So then you got it, and then this is going to affect your kidneys again. You go like that, the same. They will not look for that. Hey, is this going to affect that? Because you're going to have side effects. These guys did not care. Why? They will write on their resume, I did this, I saved this much money, I kept the number of the CPS investigator to 54 or 52, as it was my case. 54, 52? Yeah. Divide that to the amount of cases assigned by the centralized intake, that's nothing. We were like chicken running around the building with the heads cut off. Everything was documented, everything you have to... how do you call it? And I understand that, but they got micromanaging. Each and every fart they will take, you have to write the date and all that. Not in the investigation. Take a car. Let's say you take a car and you have to go to see some, I don't know, speak with, let's say, a police officer. You sign a car, you go over there, you have to go in a system, you have to put your initials, you have to put this, you have to put your number, you have to put the password, you have to do this. You spend over there, you say, well, it's just a minute. No, it's not a minute. That minute with another minute, it's extra, and always extra. Always extra. Garbage. I'm doing this for the ones who work in CPS right now. And I really much... There were some people who still work over there, I think. I know them. They still work over there. But they have no way out. There was a saying that if you are in CPS more than 3 or 4 years here, that means you don't have a way out. And most people don't. I hope they do and they get out, because get some experience, work with people, very, very good experience. Work with people, which way? Work with people, you're gonna learn a lot. I investigated hundreds of families. Thousands maybe? No. Thousands of people, but hundreds of investigations, hundreds of them. You get to know people, you get to know, go in their houses, You see how people live. You see how they think. You find out how the children are. Some of them should not have had. No. People with big TV screens, with long nails and very nice, and they didn't have beds. The kids did not have, the mom had that with 5 kids and 3 husbands, 3 baboons who right now are incarcerated, and you have to call over there, and you have to speak with them, you go on and see them if they're in the area and so on. No, those kids will not turn into productive members of the society. I worked in another place where I spoke with children a lot, and then you read their past. There's no way. All right, they have the prevention. That was a new garbage when I was in the department, prevention department, where you have one woman who was providing preventing measures. Now, prevention is like this. I prevent you from, breaking a leg. They say, you're not gonna go outside. You're gonna lay down in bed. That's kind of prevention. That means I can't do squat exactly. Remember, this is the government. And a 30-year-old woman who would tell you certain things to prevent, and you have to, otherwise she will write a petition and the judge will get involved. This is how the system works. Counselors, I should not go into that one. Why? Because I'm going to go to other stuff, which is how the medication, it was medical neglect. That was the allegation, where a parent refused to provide a child with a prescribed medication by a psychiatrist, which was Adderall or anything like that will get the kid crazy. But hey, the psychiatrist decided that the child needs it. Why? Because the child was, referred to psychiatrist by the school counselor, and the school counselor sent it over there. If you say no, as a parent, get out of here, I'm not going to go to the psychiatrist, guess what the counselor has to do? Because the counselor is a mandated reporter. He's going to call CPS, and you're going to have CPS, and they will make you. If you don't, they will remove your child from your care because you refuse to provide the, follow the investigation or cooperate with the investigation, and you have no, nothing to say. You have to say, if the counselor said, I think the child has, ADHD or whatever they say, something, mental issues, all right? Or I'm not going to be now politically correct. I think you should see a psychologist first. They're going to go to a psychologist. If the psychologist will refer the child to a psychiatrist because the child doesn't listen and is aggressive, and who knows, they're going to prescribe some drugs to the kid and problem solved. No, that's going to affect the kid's brain for the rest of his life or her life. And if you say no and you don't give the child the medication, guess what's going to happen? If they find out, they will open a case on you, and they could remove your child from your care because you refuse to listen to a, they call it professional. But the professional with the other professional plus the Adderall and others that I'm very aware, I had to ask the question per policy, what kind of mental health issues they have and what kind of mood altering medication they had. Each and every one, it was a mandatory per program, per policy question. Therefore, I knew they could say, I don't give you the answer. They could have said that. But most of people told me. So I know the proportion of the population who is fucking medicated, including children. I know them firsthand. So when they give me on the TV the statistics and all that, no, my friends, no. And yeah, that could keep a child from, acting out. I tell you how it was solved when I was a kid, when I was not paying attention, not focused in class. They would smack me. You know how quickly I got the medication? Yeah, smack. I'm not promoting that, but that solved the problem for me. I don't know, maybe I was not a serious case. My friends, once you get in the system, you will never get out of the system. They have it and they don't lose it. I can go on the system and I can find out an investigation on you whenever you had it. You cannot expunge that. You have it over there. And when they say, well, you know what? I don't have criminal record. You expunge it? Yeah, okay. All right. Good job with that one. Or good luck with that one, my friends. And this is a low-level security, security, whatever it is, that you can have. But over there, imagine these guys in FBI and CIA. I worked in some investigations, working with FBI, and police officers all the time. Those guys caught these guys immediately. In 30 minutes, they caught the perpetrator who stabbed whomever and whomever. We are very much monitored, my friends, and stored. The information is stored. Now, you want to get a job. Let's say you get investigated by CPS and they didn't find anything. Let's say it's a case 5, category 5, which is a no evidence, not insufficient, no evidence, which are rare cases. Usually it's insufficient. That's how you're required by the supervisor to say, oh, there's no such a thing. There's no evidence. There's some evidence. That's why you say insufficient evidence. Terminology and all this bullshit. Anyway, necessary, because when you show up in front of a judge, they use the same abracadabra, and they know one another. Some of them fuck with one another. Some of them go and drink with one another. I'm talking about the guys who appear to be serious in court, but in real life, direct experience. Not fucking, okay? All right, let's put it to the side. When the doors are closed after the trial is over, we speak differently, like human beings. And if someone has an urge, if you know what I mean, then they will have that itch scratched, if you know what I mean, poke. So whatever, man. You're gonna have a criminal history. Yeah, you have a CPS history. It is never expunged over there. And I can look into it. And how do you have it? Someone reported on you. And you have 5 cases. You have a extensive, that's the word, extensive CPS history. Even though you never were, there were no preponderance found against you to support the allegations, but you have a history. So if you go to get a job and those guys, let's say in kindergarten, let's say you're kindergarten teacher or whatever you are over there, or a healthcare system, and they say in the application, do you have any CPS history? What are you going to say? What are you going to say? I tell you what you're going to say. You're going to say yes. Why? Because they will check. And when they check, if you lied, you have something to hide. My friends, this is just a little bit. Conversations that I had with the baboons in charge of me are useless because they are afraid. That's a club. They're afraid of one another at the same level, and they kiss ass of the guys on top. Big time kiss ass. Why? They don't have courage. That means they know they don't deserve the position, and they all tell on one another. It's such a kindergarten. I'm gonna get here to the courthouse. Man, I didn't come out for air, as someone used to tell me. You didn't come out for air. No, I didn't. So my friends, this is CPS. I love the job, but a lot of policies were imbecilic. We were staffed, overworked. The policies sometimes were baboonish, extra work because people tried to, cover their asses. I mean, when I was over there, my supervisor, one of them, used to tell me all the time, Emil, cover your ass. What do you mean? This is what I found. Make sure they don't find anything. Did you follow the policy? Yes, we're good. Phew. It didn't matter. It's the same thing as I use this in my my analysis, my geopolitical analysis. When you go to a doctor, let's say someone has a surgery over there, and the doctor comes out and says, well, you know what? Let's say it's about someone dear to you, so it affects you now a little bit more emotionally. And let's say it's one of that you love, and the surgeon comes and say, hey, Mikey, yes, the surgery was a success, but the patient died on the surgery table. Everything was good. We followed all the procedures. It was perfect, man, but unsuccessful. What would you care? If my loved one will survive, and you broke the policy, you violated the policy, guess what? Which one I will take? Violate the fucking policy as much as you want if you saved my loved one. Here, I think it's more important, not the policy, than here. Anyway, this is the entrance to the 313, right? Ingham County, Parapapa. You go here to some checks. And actually someone here recognized me. When I went, they said, hey, you make videos on YouTube. I was like, oh, what? And I said, is that wrong? He said, no, I watch you all the time. Okay, thank you very much. Anyway, my friends, I can say more and more and more. I removed And if you did not remove enough, this was another thing. If you did not remove enough, if you didn't find the preponderance enough, they had statistics. And they had, let's say, in a year, you have to have, let's say, 20 cases, not like 20% case. I don't know the number right now. I can't remember. But they had a limit, like you need to be within certain margins, like an average. For instance, you have 300 cases a year, let's say 300 cases a year. And if you didn't find 20% of them with a preponderance, you had a problem. That means you are not sensitive enough, you are not trained enough to be, how do you call it, harmonized with the way of thinking of a CPS investigator. Like, for instance, let me give you an imbecilic thing. We have a case assigned to me where some children, I'm not disclosing names or anything, so it doesn't really matter. 3 children were about 12, 6 and something like that. They were, the reporting source alleged that which was a fact, that the kids were playing in the rainwater after a rain. So after a rain, this person, the neighbor, called on the neighbor that the neighbor's children, 3 of them, were playing in the water after a rain, and that was, you know, medical neglect and threatened harm and whatever it was, improper supervision, all these things. I did that as a child. Oh my fucking God, how much fun it was. Oh, it's dirty. So, you know, I went over there, I investigated, and guess what happened with the investigation? Guess what? Now you have people who say, well, wait just a minute. The kids were locked in the car while she went inside at the dollar store to buy something. How many minutes? 5 minutes. How old are the kids? One was 5, one was 9. And you investigate that case. Thank you very much, man. I mean, I'm not saying that accidents don't happen, but how do you, I mean, there are some cases for that being assigned, but that's based on your life experience, based on your sensitivity. For me, that was like the children play in the rainwater. Oh my God, tomorrow is going to be if they play in the dirt. Again, the same thing. But my supervisor was like, oh my God, my pussy hurts. What are you going to say? If you say something else, you'll say, well, maybe it's something wrong with you. I've been told that. I've been told that. Why? Because I was not of the same fake sensitivity as she was. You know, exaggerated care and compassion. And if you, somehow some other people are the ones that have the, how do you call it? They know what is the right level, not you. Have a PhD in feelings. Here is a library, public library in Lansing. Been here some time, a long time ago. I've been in a while. Got the computers and get books and so on. So my friends, I think that's it for today. It's what, 57 minutes. I can go on. Maybe I'm going to talk again about the CPS. My friends in CPS, you are abused. Adult protecting services must be called. But adult protective services goes above a year, an age or something. Nevertheless, I don't know, I didn't work in adult protective services. I worked in child protective services. And no, I think the department was, the way it was operated, I'm not saying it's not necessary. It is necessary, isn't it? It is necessary. The way it was operated, it was like a stage. Everything was staged. It was like fake. It was not real. When I got into CPS, I was like, oh, I'm gonna do good things. I'm gonna work for this. I'm gonna fight this. I'm gonna do this. It's not like that. Hey, did you follow the policy? Yeah. Dispose the case. That was the exact words. Dispose the case. You follow the policy? We're covered. Dispose the case. Now, that's not the way you work with CPS. I met many people when I went, I'm back on Washington Avenue. Many people who just were hostile to me because I worked for CPS. Sometimes for good reason and sometimes for bad reasons, I would say. And I always say, because you learn with time what answers to give, I say, you know what, you don't know me. Why do you work for these guys? Like, yeah, if they give you the time to explain, you would explain. You know, you try to do good. That's what you try to do. Good stuff. You're not over there to snatch children. And they have the rights too, because we are parents as well. We are parents. And we have to look at it from the other side. Anyone can call the CPS on whomever they want. And they make the allegations however they want. They can lie 100%. And you know, in the Constitution, you said that you have the right to face the accuser in a court of law. So you can find out who made the allegations if you invest money and if you go to the long process of finding out who reported on you. Most people don't have money to eat or to put gas in their cars. Do you think they will do that? No, they will not do that. They don't have time to do that. Here is Greyhound here. I stopped here one time, first time when I got to Lansing a long time ago. It was, and this Greyhound thing, they have a toilet over there that I can use if I want, but I don't want. Why? Because I'm sweating like a pig. Therefore, whatever. So my friends, here it is. More and more I can talk about this. And the people in charge, the ones in downtown, the ones who write policies, are just outside of the realm of reality. And they have a living, and you're supposed to look at them as the gods. Now sometimes they have people who come and say, okay, I want to inspect to see if the department is following the policies, see how things work. So they will assign to this guy from downtown, will assign to the county office the best CPS, the most perky CPS, the most baboonish CPS. They will be, yeah, everything is fine, come with me. So they go one day with this person, and then they go back in the office and say, oh man, things are fantastic in this county's office. I know that for a fact. I have names. Anyway, names and faces. So that's the way they do it. And they specifically put people who are, yes sir. Why? It's a job. Some people look at it as a job, not a job of saving children's futures. Because remember, if you are abused as a child, that remains in your psyche. You're gonna have problems. Most likely, hard, some of them. I've seen criminals, I've seen monsters. I've seen the nicest old guy with white beard, very nice trimmed, very intellectual, very well behaved, very well dressed, being the monster, abusing children 3, 4, 5 years old. You can't even imagine, and I'm not kidding, you can't even imagine what kind of people live among us. Therefore, sometimes you are skewed, and when you see someone say, holy fuck, this guy reminds me of that guy, and you can't ignore that. Sometimes children want to get the parents in trouble. I've seen those kind of cases where you have a child, I've seen that many times, being a brat or being a person who doesn't get in hey, ciao, see you later. Yeah, oh yeah, peace. I'm gonna take a piece right now. So you have children who don't get along with one of the parent for various reasons, and they will make up shit, they will scratch themselves, they will hit themselves on the wall, they will make false allegations, and then you're gonna find a preponderance. There's no way it's gonna be the child's word versus the parent's word. And remember what that supervisor told me? Emil, you are a CPS, Child Protective Services. Yeah, I'm supposed to protect them if I find the guy guilty of anything. So I found those things many times. Now, it's hard to determine. How do you determine? Because many times you don't find the hard evidence. Remember, 51%, if you have a very liberal, like communist guy in charge of you, like a supervisor or a program director, she is going to find everywhere abuse, especially if you are a male. I said it. I lived through this. I have my direct experience. These guys can say whatever they want. All right, my friends, back on the Grand River, the river that goes through Lansing. On the other side is the downtown, right there with the big, tallest, whatever building over there with the clock. So, I'm getting out. Thank you very much for being with me again today. I couldn't say everything, so I'm sure that some of you will find what I said, oh, that's impossible. Oh, it's not quite like that. Oh, no. Yes, you know why? Because I don't have here years, or maybe not years, but days to tell you details. That I can, you ask me a question, I will give you the answer. Therefore, I have to say certain things like a summary of my findings. And when you make a summary or reach a conclusion, the conclusion is not necessarily absolute, like 100%, but it's based on my experience. There are some counter arguments with many things I said, but the majority of the evidence that I have support my claims. 51%. Anyway, my friends, do good in life. Do good in life. The children need protection, but not exaggerated, because when it's exaggerated, the government gets in your life and you are never gonna get out. Stay strong, stay smart, look for the truth, and be just.